Alright, people, welcome back to the studio. Part 3. Gonna wrap this guy up. Gonna mask out the tongue. And start the inside of the mouth. Virtually all black. When I get into the corner of the mouth down here, I'm gonna go more of my darker purples. Just kind of want to show that there is something back there, not just a hole. And put some vagueness in the back, nothing too crazy. Time lapse. Oh man, I need a shave. Alright guys, when you're putting your tape back down, be sure to put it back where you got it from. You don't want to overlap it one side or the other. You'll find once you peel everything up that you have a double line where your base is still there and it never got painted. Alright guys, got her all peeled. The Vanna White. She's ready for black. Blacker than the blackest night. Blacker than coal. Blacker than the depths of Mordor. Or just, you know, your standard black. Outerwear. Black. Alright guys, I'm gonna throw you on time lapse and squirt some paint on here. You get the gist. Blacker than the blackest soul. Blue! Bluer than... No, I got nothing. Alright, doing some blue tones. I wasn't very heavy on the black to my edges to allow that green to kind of fight through. Slow motion fast burgundy. Createx fast burgundy. It's just a burgundy. I don't know what the fast is all about. Shoots the same as all the other paint. But again, this just gives me some tones in the back of the mouth. Make it look like there's a bit of a roof. Something that shows that there's some dimensions. It's not just a hole in the ground, right? And here I'm just going a little tighter, a little closer in the areas where I want my detail to make it show that it's a little closer to you. Hey, that works out. If you want to look closer, get your airbrush closer. Get those tight details. Alright guys, now that I got that done, I've got some photocopies. I took my one exhaust port, photocopied it multiple times so I can get multiple stencils. A couple of them are going to be quite simple. Some of them are going to be a little bit more intricate. Let's get to cutting some stencils. I got my X-Acto knife. I like to put a brand new blade in. Let's get to it. Alright guys, so here cutting on a cutting board, I'm definitely using a lot more pressure. I want to make sure that all my cuts are clean and I don't have any ripped edges. This is just an outline. I actually did this 4 times. I only showed you 2. I did some more research and it occurred to me that these ports actually were a little bit different than the way I had them drawn out. So made some final changes. Make your adjustments before you start spraying your paint. And cutting slivers, just slivers in there, and this is just going to map out some edges for me so I know where they are. And now wherever I want my piece to start going 3 dimensions, so if I got one piece I need going on top, one piece I need going behind, these are where my cuts are going to be. My furthest piece, or my darkest piece, I can just cut right out, and you'll see me do that here. So in the inside the port, I cut that right out. That's going to be super dark. And back here is going to be super dark. Cut the stencils so they're a size that you can use them. Don't leave a huge sheet of paper. It makes it pretty difficult. And this one again, just needed a darker area and an outline to map it out. Alright. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tape these guys down one by one. And when you're laying your tape, take care. Make sure that you're only laying your tape over top of your stencil and your masked area. You don't want this over top of your painted surface, or you end up causing ghost lines that you'll have to go in and fix later. Problems that you can avoid, just take your time. Just going in with some black blacker than the blackest shoe polish. Alright, that cow's been milked. Alright guys, now I'm going in with my blue, brown, purple mixture. So this is actually something I use quite common. 5 drops brown, 1 drop blue, 1 drop purple. Now, I had some cleaner in my brush before I put the paint in, which meant the paint was too thin, which meant it skated on me underneath my stencil. So, paper towel with a little bit of clean solution, problem solved, man. Life's a beautiful thing sometimes. So now I'm going in, like I said, my blue, brown, purple mixture. This is a beautiful mixture because I can go in with multiple layers and actually get multiple tones. So out of one color, I'm actually getting several different tones, which means I can paint my metal, my steel, with 2 colors, white and my blue, brown, purple mixture. And you'll see the way it overlaps on top of white, and then the way white overlaps on top of it actually gives it another tone. So I mean, just these 2 colors and the way you lay them down gives you a wide range of shades and tones. And you can use this with other colors as well. Light layers, light passes, till you build it up slowly. Man, you'd be surprised how you can accomplish some really nice effects, some really nice colors, some really nice blends without having to do a bunch of different color mixtures. Alright guys, you'll notice I use a French curve a lot. Sometimes it's easier to just grab that and place down where you need it, rather than having to mess with the big clunky ones. Alright guys, repeat steps 1 and 2. Alright guys, now I got that all done. My next step is I'm going to take my X-Acto knife. I'm just going to scratch away and get some of these highlights in some of my areas, and it's just going to again push a little bit of reflective surfaces, make it look like it's shiny. Get this where it's comfortable. You guys can see. I hope. Alright. Ooh, it ain't quite as bad as nails on a chalkboard, but it ain't much better. Alright guys. Ever so gently, you have green underneath that white. You scratch that down too far and man, it's all for naught. So take your time with this step. As you see, I'm not going very fast. I decided to keep this one a little bit out of the time lapse for the beginning here, just so you can kind of see. Oh, spoke too soon. Alright, Speedy Gonzalez here. But the benefits of time lapses are you really do see it come together. Sometimes the process is so slow, so tedious, so time consuming that it's really hard to see me doing anything at all. So with these time lapses, you can kind of see what gets done, how it gets done, end results, and it only takes a couple seconds. I know I'm dragging this out because I really don't know what else to say here. Where am I scratching? Alright, so I'm scratching on my edges, on the highlights, where I want to look like there is some light just kind of banging off that surface. It's nice to have the scratches where your darks meet your whites, and again, in some of these dark areas, just to make it pop and sing. Alright, and finally guys, I'm going to go in and just tap my highlights. Tap, tap. You'll notice I'm resting my knuckle. And take special notice of my finger here, guys. Now you're really going to see the micro movements that one has to master to pull off using an airbrush. I am moving that thing with the airbrush. So as I'm moving my airbrush back and forth, my finger goes back and forth. You want to hit the surface with your middle pass. So as you're going to the edges, there should be no paint. And as you're coming over the middle is when you're applying your paint. This is something that will take a bit of practice, but it's really how the airbrush is mastered. It's applying the paint in multiple passes with thin layers, alright? Controlling where you want your paint to be, building it up slowly. And again, just hitting the highest highlights bouncing some white into the bottoms to make it look like we got some reflections bouncing off the bottom. Now I'm going with my French curves, and if you notice, I'm actually getting more paint on the stencil than I am on the piece, and I'm just getting just the tiniest little highlight reflective surface on that small little edge to make it look like it's wrapping around, giving it a 3D effect, and just finishing it off with the little highlights. I like to go over with my white and kind of blast over the whole thing, kind of brings all the colors together and makes it look like it's one solid piece. Alright guys, what do you think? I'm pretty happy with that. I'm getting a nice 3D effect with my shadows. Looks like it's popping out. Nice reflective lines, gives it some bling bling. Next up, I'm going to mask off these couple areas. I'm going to get ready to spray this little teeny tiny eyeball. Shouldn't take too long. Progress. I like progress. Alright, rock and roll. Alright guys, I just quickly blasted in some white. It got a little overspray on it from being unmasked this whole time. I pulled out my original reference that was brought to me by the client. And I got my eyeballs that have been sitting here this whole time just waiting to be used. So I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to stick him on that guy. Cut out my iris. I am working on top of the paint that was just sprayed. So I'm going to be super sensitive with my blade. I'm actually checking to make sure that's a nice tight edge and I haven't chipped it off. Alright, ever so slightly guys. This is like the weight of the X-Acto knife plus the weight of my finger. This is where you're going to run into peeling problems if you hit this too hard and too heavy. I'm going to go ahead and peel the iris and pupil as one because I got one of these bad boys. They're handy for whenever you gotta spray any kind of circles. Good to have. Alright guys, I'm going with my blue, brown, purple mixture. 5 drops brown, 1 drop blue, 1 drop purple. It's actually one of my favorite go-to colors for darks, for shadows. It's my preferred color over black. So here I'm going to go in, I'm going to paint the pupil. Just get it nice and dark. Get a shadow in there to show that, again, we have some dimensions. And now I'm just going to go in and start throwing some of the details for the iris. Getting some darker lines around the edges. I'm going to go a little heavy with this whole thing, but I still want to do it carefully. I want to make sure I don't go overboard. Slow layers, guys. Next up, I'm going to go with my X-Acto knife. I'm going to scratch this baby back down to the white. Ever so gently. And when I was laying in my darks, I kind of went a little heavier, knowing that I'm going to be scratching a lot of this back to get my whites to come back through. I really find it's that contrast, that light edge right up against that dark edge, that really makes this stuff shimmer and gives it that high reflective quality. Okay, maybe a little bit more. Alright, so now I'm going in with my yellow. Eventually this is going to be a red eyeball, but I just wanted to have more of a warmer tone. Sometimes you go red over white and you get a bit of pink. And again, layering, guys. So I'm going back in with my X-Acto knife, chiseling out some highlights. And pass number 2. There you have it, guys. Alright, last, just cut a couple little holes. And the only reason why I did that is because I've got to mirror this on the other side, so it saves me from having to back and forth to double check. So I soften out with my white, go back in with my red, blend it in a bit, go back in with my dark, sharpen up my shadows, cut those nice hard edges. Alright, and then for my final step, go with my super tight brush, tiniest little bit of paint, I'm just gonna punch my highest highlights. Alright, now I'm peeling back the whites of the eyes. I'm gonna go ahead and match the shadow before I mask off the iris and pupil. I want to make sure that it has some consistency. I'm gonna go ahead and mask off said iris and pupil and darken up around it. And again, so all I'm doing is building some three-dimensional tones, going in with some blue, going in with a little bit of red to give it a bloodshot look, building some reds in the corners, highlights over top of everything, going back in with some shadows, going back in with some highlights. A lot of this is, you know, you're going back and forth, chasing your tail a little bit, but this is how you build up your dimensions. This is how you build up all your highlights and your glossiness, and this will help to give it that real deal, realistic feel. Alright, peel it. Done. So there you have it, guys. Couple eyeballs. Demonic eyeballs. Nostrils are next. Not mine, his. Alright, now I've only cut the top of this and I just rolled the tape back down. And that's because I want the hard edge to the top and a soft edge to the bottom. Same with the little intake manifold we got going up here. I just roll the tape back and I'm just hitting more paint to the top, getting as dark as I can and fading it to the bottom. And that's going to look like you could stick your hand right in there and it's going to give it that 3D effect. Whoa. Whoa. Quit staring at me. Alrighty, guys. Yeah, that's AM. I'm gonna shut her down for the night. This is what happens when you're lunar powered. We'll come back. We'll attack this tomorrow, bright, fresh, and early in the afternoon. So stay tuned. Tomorrow is Christmas. Peeling all that tape off. Haha, cliffhanger time. Alright guys, hang on to the next one where we give this thing more 3D realistic flavor with rivets, paneling, scars. We attack this thing with battle damage. And as always guys, thanks for following along, thanks for subbing. Hit me up with any questions, feedback, and tell the world the BloodShot Army needs more airbrush wielding warriors. Cheers.